Akhil, we are good to go.
Okay, thank you, Tanveer. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to live coverage of the second session of the Youth Forum. My name is Akil Rashid. I will introduce the session and the speakers. We at Jkpi believe in facilitating multi-stakeholder dialogues to bring in diverse perspectives and encourage constructive disagreements, critical perspectives, and new cutting-edge creative problem-solving approach on socio-economic and political issues confronting J&K and the larger Southeast Asian region. With the focus on recognizing and bringing to the light positive role that youth play in society on different fronts, we bring to you Youth Forum. The initiative aims to provide a platform to the youth voices to raise their concerns on various issues that concern them directly. It's proven that youth create a demographic dividend for any country with their positive energy, problem-solving skills, and innovative approach. They are tech savvy, driven to bring social change and leading interventions to make lives better. However, they remain far away from the policy making spectrum and decision making processes, leading to irrelevant policies, unmet needs, and assumption based policies with no substantial change. And it's time to give the deserved space to youth to decide about their present and their future. We have successfully conducted two regional youth forums on youth in Afghanistan peace processes, voices of diversity and inclusion with three youth experts from the region. We have also conducted a youth forum on gender-based violence, the way forward with six youth experts from South Asia. In the second session of the youth forum tonight, we are joined by young leaders from India, who have taken initiatives to bring to the forefront young perspectives, both at the academic and the practitioners level. While highlighting the positive role of youth, the discussion on youth in public policy making and governance will revolve around their experiences to understand the prospects of career development and meaningful youth participation in policy making. The experts we have with us tonight have a great knack of conveying their knowledge. In that light, we are really pleased to announce that our first speaker is someone who doesn't need any introduction. Shah Faisal, a former politician and bureaucrat from Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Faisal became the first Kashmiri in 2010 to secure first position in the Indian Civil Services examination. We are delighted that Tushar Gupta, advisor to Jkpi on public policy and governance, is also with us. Mr. Tushar is a public policy professional and processes in-depth experience of working with the government at the district, state, and national levels. He has worked at all the three levels of governance structure and is presently engaged with the Ministry of Commerce at the national level. In his association with Jkpi, Tushar aims to create avenues for the youth to participate in policy-making processes and give an impetus to youth-led policy-making in Jammu and Kashmir. And that's all from me. I will hand you over to Sukanya and Tanveer, who will be moderating the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Akhil, for the warm welcome and the background story. A very warm welcome to all of you, all the viewers who are watching this talk show. So I'll be moderating the show with Tanveer tonight, and we'll be asking questions regarding youth policy and governance. And we'll also be taking questions from the comment section that will be coming across our way. So the questions are same for both the speakers, but first I'd like to ask Mr. Shah Faisal sir, that you have been working in the government sector at various levels. So could you just tell us your experience, working there, how has it been, and yeah, in the policy making?
Thank you, Sukanya. Thank you, Javed and Tanveer and others for this opportunity to speak today. Honestly, I was not very clear about the topic till you just talked more about that. This is all about this. Having worked in the government, I think one of the sad things that happened to me was that I could not work outside Jammu and Kashmir during the first 10 years of my life. Somewhere that exposure remained limited to the state. But then whatever exposure there was, so mainly when I talk about my experiences, I talk about Kashmir and other places that I have seen. You know, there is this cultural thing about Kashmir that one is that who is the youngster or who are the youth, basically. So if you talk about the national youth policy or the definition of youngsters in India, it's more about 15 to 35 age group, usually, which we consider as the youth bracket or the youth age group. In Kashmir, it's like this age group is usually considered to be very immature, politically like irrelevant, somebody who should not be taken seriously. So when I was at DC, I think at an age of 30 or something, I used to hear a lot of people telling me that, oh, but he is just a kid. So being youth is like being a kid, being immature, being nonsensical. That is the first, I think, barrier to participation of youngsters in the public policy work. So when we talk about youth, we talk about an age group of 15 to 35. And when we talk about public policy, I'm not going in. So I would say policy is, I mean, I'm not sounding incorrect, but I'm not sounding comprehensive as well. Public policy is anything which the government does or does not do. I'm leaving the public policy part of the corporates, the Twitter and the Facebook. That's like widening the definition of public. But when you talk about youngsters coming into the public policy sector, the first thing that happens in the small towns and usually in the mainstream India is that we do not take youngsters seriously. So when I joined at two most critical positions in the J&K government, which was Director of School Education and the Deputy Commissioner Bandipora, initially there was a lot of resistance to involving youngsters. Youngsters have their own issues. We don't need to, discuss those issues because I think everybody knows those issues are not even relevant to people in the policy make people in the authority who are at positions because we don't relate to that. Somebody is getting bullied in the school. The issue of sexual health, the issue of suppose mental health, the issue of substance abuse, for example, educational issues of youngsters, the health issues of youngsters, the job issues of youngsters. These issues do not unfortunately find resonance in the public policy sector, in the administrative structures of the government. So when I was DC, I got an interesting opportunity to work with youngsters. So there was this scheme of Prime Minister's Rural Development Program. So I had these rural development fellows coming to my district, working in faraway areas along with me. And we had this another, which is this Teach for India fellowship is there. So I had a lot of youngsters, volunteers coming across the country and trying to contribute in the education sector. I think two key learnings from those two experiences were this: that one, when you look at what does the participation of youngsters in the public policy sector do to the youngster, and its second aspect is what does the participation of the youngsters in the public policy field does to the public policy or to the administrative efficiency. These are two parallel paths. I have seen that these youngsters who participated, who worked with us, I have seen a certain level of that. I finished my college, and there's this great lady called Ashima Kaur. And she used to for various group activities at youth forums which we have. So one day, this contact program which happens in Kathmandu, cross-cultural understanding of how the conflict operates. And I think that was one of the most key and transformative experiences of my life. I think that built my own consciousness as a citizen, as somebody who understands the issues around myself, who feels important. So this was the thing. I think when I saw these Teach for India youngsters or Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellows, or even when we started involving youngsters in the community development or community mobilization programs vis-a-vis education, what I found is that there's a certain sense of dignity, there's a certain sense of empowerment which happens to these youngsters. And that brings me to three very key points about the youth participation in public policy. One is that usually we say, oh, it's important, okay, we should inform the youngsters. So that's the informing stage. That, okay, मैंने जी अपना Facebook, WhatsApp पे अपना policy डाल दिया, the youngsters will know it and this is done. So I have informed the youth. I presume that, okay, this is their participation. Second participation is consulting stage, where what I do is that I will organize a session. I'll bring some youngsters, tell them, okay, look, this is my health, or this is contraceptive availability within the campus opinion. That's consulting. It's not important at all what they say, do I implement or not. Third level would be maybe collaborating. It's like maybe I call in Jkpi, I tell them, okay, I want to discuss some issue with you. Why work together on this field? For example, you tell me, okay, we want to work against substance abuse. Jkpi will be providing me consultancy. So the government agency will be implementing everything. And then you will be just providing advisory role. That's some sort of a collaboration between the youngsters and the administration. I think the best and the most important level that we should aim at would be the empowering part, which is that how do you empower the youngsters to actually participate in the public policy field and actually make very tangible contributions. And I think that's where the role of public policy as a career comes. If you want me to talk about public policy as a career or Tushar, I'll be glad. Just I don't want to go on and bore the audiences. You can tell me. Sukanya.
So I have the same question for Tushar, but before he answers the question, I have a very quick question for you, sir, which is that why is there so much of hesitance, when it comes to giving an opportunity to youth, especially in the policy making? Is it because they lack experience? Is it because they lack exposure? Because you have been emphasizing on the fact that they're very important, but they're not given any opportunity. So how do we bridge that gap? If you could answer that, and then I'll move to Mr. Tushar.
Yeah. I thought there is this mental block. It may be partly about how youth also understand public policy. The problem here is that which happens at the top, there are somewhere who are in policy. Basically, it doesn't operate that way. Public policy is made at multiple levels. You start from your small youth and your group or your urban local body group at your local level. You see their policies, you do advise, but you feel people are listening a lot in you go to the local them that why don't this advocacy for a dustbin policy before the punch is that we want to directly into PMO. We want to directly jump into Chief Minister's office. We want to make nothing harmful or that, nothing wrong. It's okay if we want to be ambitious and we want to bring change at the highest level. But I think somewhere we need to start from the lower level. One thing is that we want to always the top or we don't want to work at all. I think that's one problem. It's also about the mindset of the officers, the mindset of the politician, the mindset of the public policy professional. The problem is that we do not take youngsters seriously. We feel that it's a group which needs to be dictated to. We are a society believes in a lot of discipline. We can call it a discipline where we believe in exercising power on those who do not have power. So this power doesn't necessarily happen through authoritative power. It happens through what in the Foucauldian terms of power, which is that you just block the expression of that certain group. And I think that's where the youngsters need to come in and they need to tell you and agitate and advocate that, these are our issues. Why don't you talk about these issues? And why don't you then make policies which reflect? And obviously, later on coming as public policy, this is coming into government, that's obviously going to change it ultimately.
So I hope there is a paradigm shift in the mindset that youngsters are taken seriously. So just moving to Mr. Tushar Gupta, if you could just tell us your perspective as working in the youth policy, if you could just tell us. Thank you.
Sure, Sukanya. Thank you, Jkpi, for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. Thank you, Faisal sir, for these insights. I would like to build upon Faisal sir's premise that youngsters are not being taken seriously these days in the country. If that premise had to be relied upon, it made a lot more sense when we were back in 2012 and 13. But the situation in the country has changed, and the narrative around youth participation has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And sir, as you rightly said about the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship in association with this, I think it came way back in 2011. And that was the starting point of youth participation in public policy. After that, a kind of networked approach in governance has taken place, wherein youth are being relied upon in policy making. So you have avenues for youth at the central government directly. You have like Niti Aayog coming up with recruitment of young professionals, then associates and consultants. They have their inner hierarchy of promotions happening for youth. You have Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Ministry of Coal directly asking for youth participation. Relying upon their views in the center. Then you have state governments like Haryana coming up with Chief Minister's Good Governance Associates, a program which has been up and running from the last 7 years, wherein you recruit kind of 22 young people and place them in different districts, and they directly respond to the Chief Minister's office, help them in implementation. J&K is a bit delayed. I would like to bring in that you said that you have only had the opportunity of working in the J&K. My experience has not been like that. I've worked outside, but I've not got the opportunity to work in J&K state itself. So I would love to do that. But states are also doing that. So in this networked approach, you have like center at one place, state at one place, making ends meet, trying to promote youth participation in policy making. Then you have a consulting model wherein both center and state are coming in and inviting consultants in policy implementation, right? So you have like KPMG working for Make in India. When I talk about Jammu and Kashmir, you have like PwC working for power reforms in the state. When I talk about other states like Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, you have like the likes of McKinsey and BCG coming in, helping them drive governance reforms. At the same time, you mentioned about the likes of Facebook and Twitter, that would be private sector consulting, but we do have private startups like Ola coming up with their research institutes and pitching in, like Ola Mobility Institute, talking about electric vehicles, e-mobility, EV mobility, and social security wages, code on social security and the reforms required. So it's kind of become a networked approach wherein youth are getting the chance to participate. But that paradigm of youth not being taken seriously has transformed into the participation of youth only in policy implementation and policy evaluation. I think in the policy cycle, the youth are currently underrepresented in agenda setting. When we talk about agenda setting, we don't have youth setting the agenda of where the policy needs to move. We have youth participating in policy implementation and policy evaluation. I think that's the biggest roadblock which is not helping youth of the country at the moment. I'm talking only from India's perspective at the moment. As far as my experience is concerned, so I can classify my experience into three types. It's totally different when you're working with the government. When I say when you're working with the government, you're working with the political executive. The canvas is very wide there. Right from policy implementation to thinking to feedback, and the things move very quickly because you have the element of political will there. So when you're working with the government, the idea and the working and the implementation and the experience is totally different. But when you're working for the government, as in when the government is your client and you are a private sector entity being hired to work in a particular domain, the experience becomes narrowed down. But at the end of the day, I would build upon this premise that youth gets an opportunity in this country only to evaluate and to implement the policy, but not at the level of agenda setting. That's something I would like to build upon.
I think that's a key insight which you are sharing. My point was also that, it's not only about, when you talk about India, you're talking about 50% of population being less than 25. So, and when you talk about various initiatives where youth are getting involved, as you said rightly, about chief ministers, fellowships, you talked about Niti Aayog, we are basically talking about a very small number of people who are actually finally getting involved in that sector, which is who are working in policy evaluation and policy implementation process. Finally, how do you make the entire youth population of this country feel involved? Is there a way besides electoral participation? Okay, they are voting once every 5 years. What about the period from one voting to the other voting? I mean, everybody will not be able to get into these fellowships and get into the government. How does the youngster of this country feel involved in the public policy making on its everyday basis, which is a quotidian experience of the youngster in his own village or whatever he is doing? How does he feel involved? How does he feel empowered and consulted? I mean, we need to look at that level. And as you said very rightly, is that even at the governmental level this time, people are still not ready to consult youngsters at the or the agenda setting. Although most of the policies, when they are formalized, we send them for feedback. We want to send the drafts, and then we ask people to maybe share their views. But I have not seen massive youth consultations happening. We have a youth policy. If you look at the youth policy, it does ask for a lot many things. I mean, a lot of imperatives or youth imperatives are there in India's youth policy. But how much of it has actually translated? That's all because the mindsets have not changed. I think government the mindset at the top is that, okay, we need youngsters in. But by the time it goes to the field, there's a lot of transmission loss. The officers at the cutting edge level, they feel very threatened. I'm sorry to say this about involving youngsters or getting them in. There is definitely a paradigm shift in the last 10 years, as you said rightly, that the way it used to be earlier, absolutely. I mean, it was kind of, if any youngster somehow walked into a government office, he would be shown the door. Man, what are you doing here? Today, a lot has changed. You will actually see a lot of young faces because collectors are very young now. I mean, you will see key officers in the police department are very young. On day-to-day basis, you see a lot of consultations, a lot of things happening. So I'm saying like we need to maybe widen the bracket of public policy participation, not just for working for the government or working with the government, but also what day-to-day activities and what broader participation can happen. I think that also needs to be looked at.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Faisal sir, and thank you, Tushar sir, for the very useful insights. So I can summarize the answers from both of you in the view that not all the problems, all the issues can be addressed by the government. So there needs what we can say the balancing act to be done, and that's by bridging the gap between the youth and the government. So my next question, I'll start with Tushar sir. Why do we need youth in public policy making, and what are the benefits they bring to the table?
As Faisal sir rightly said that youth constitute around more than 50% of the population, right? If we look at the starting line of our constitution, preamble says we the people, right? A representative democracy cannot be successful if a majority of the sect of the population is underrepresented in its policy making process. When we talk about bringing youth into policy making, we're talking about more than half of the population into policy making. So when you're talking about different sections of the society, be it women, be it elderly, be it scheduled caste, be it scheduled tribe, there's a narrative of discussion, there's a narrative of representation, but there's no narrative of representation amongst youth when we're talking about policy making. So when we will try to bring youth into policy making, we will give a positive impetus to representative democracy. We will so the problems and the issues of youth are very different. We need to realize it. So when we talk about bringing them into the policy making sector, we are giving a affirmation to their issues. Like we can talk about Greta Thunberg and the climate change narrative. We can talk about Malala Yousafzai and the women education. We can talk about juvenile delinquency, which is happening, why it's happening. Someone who has gone through that particular narrative will be very efficiently making policies and giving solutions, right? So we need that particular section of the society to represent their interests. And that can only happen when they are well represented.
Thank you so much, sir. So I would like Faisal Saab to add more on this point. That why do
I think yes. I think I would complement what Tushar said, and I think two key impacts which I have experienced in my professional life is that one is that when youngsters come in, they data treat. I have seen, the way a young is completely different from the way old people perceive. With a lot of biases, there are a lot of prejudices which get into our heads. And when those biases and prejudices get into our heads, there are invisible tasks. I have seen in the field when I used to send youngsters for collecting data on health indicators, on educational indicators. The way we perceive illiteracy, the way we perceive disempowerment, a young person perceives it completely. He has yet not been completely, his sensibilities have completely not been decimated yet. He is very empathetic. He has certain kind of compassion still in him, and he can appreciate the world in a complete and bring some additional data, which are very key for the policy key insight. Second is that youngsters are incorruptible. I won't say they're incorruptible, they're not corrupted, to be honest. So by being honest, by having integrity, by yet not being polluted by the system that they are in, I have seen the young people bring in a lot of credibility to the system. When we used to do surveys during my elections, for example, if I had young people telling, the common ID card, participate in the process, we want your names to be enrolled in the electoral rolls. I have seen that the common people believe a young person more than somebody who's gray. They feel, okay, this man may be naive. This man is definitely not going to lie. So I think these young people bring in a lot of credibility to the system, and they bring in very key data with the data which is otherwise missed. Our societal pressures bring in bias, and a lot of things visible to us.
Thank you so much. So before we move ahead, we have one question popping on the Facebook. So let me ask you the question. So it's someone asking, you mentioned about fellowships that youth could join and be a part of the policy making. Are there any demographic differences that we see here? Do we have enough avenues for youth in Jammu and Kashmir to join the field of public policy?
Policy, as you see, I mean, it's still not a subject recognized by Public Service Commission or by SSRB. If you do a master's in public policy, I'm not sure if there is an investment university still get any professional position there, will eligible to participate in any exams, any professional exams. Things are changing. If you look across the country, public policy professionals are very much in demand, as Tushar correct, in various NGOs, in corporate sector, even a lot of people face between the government and the corporate. So for that, everybody is looking for these public policy professionals, small place. I think what I would request the Jammu and Kashmir is to look big the entire country. There are opportunities in yourself professionally because you just want to work in Srinagar. It's not going to work that. If you want to work in circumstance, something new, want to do something which is exciting, you should look beyond your home. You will have to go out into the world and conquer the rest of the country. And that entire country, if you talk about the number of fellowships across the country, plenty of opportunities to see. A lot of people are spending a lot of to study abroad, get MPA, get other doctorates in London, in UK, across country also now. There are these universities which have started public policy courses. A lot of opportunities. In coming years, public policy is like these days also already. I don't know, Tushar may not agree with me or may not. I get a lot of emails these days that, sir, what is the way I want to study public policy? What are the career opportunities? As of now, I am not able exactly to give them concrete answers because there are not as many opportunities as you would say, okay, somebody does a political science graduation or maybe a political science doctorate. You can say, okay, he will become a professor of political science. In public policy, I'm not sure will he be even eligible because the rules have not been changed yet. I think that's where the advocacy part comes, that youngsters say, okay, we are doing public policy. Why don't you change your rules? And then more people will be doing public policy. And then these two circles will somehow, I think, come together.
Thanks, sir. Thank you so much. Tushar, sir, do you want to add some lines to this?
Faisal sir has rightly pointed out the lacunas which are existing in the current situation. So as a first step, as sir said, that we would like to use this platform to advocate for this particular cause, that the institutions like the UGC should recognize public policy as a career and the degree should be used. So just to give you an example, that the prestigious NET examination, it does not consider public policy as an alternative. You cannot clear NET and under UGC rules in public policy. Similarly, there are no institutionalized professorships or associate professorships existing in the universities currently, the central universities and state universities. So that would be the first step. But at the same time, I would like to point out that J&K as a state has started moving towards giving youth the opportunity to participate in policy making. And Jammu and Kashmir Sustainable Development Fellows was conceptualized like 6 months back, and it's the right starting point. And I believe that in the coming years, we would have more opportunities in the state wherein the corporates would come and help the state in policy implementation. But yes, the advocacy part remains.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So the need of the hour, at least here in Jammu and Kashmir, is to add this public policy into the domain of this universities or colleges, at least to make it a part of the curriculum, so more people get to know about it. And this will for sure bridge the gap between the government and the general public. So on next question, I'll be asking, I'll be starting from Faisal Saab. So you have been working with the state machinery for years. Based on your experience, what opportunities and barriers do you see in the meaningful youth participation in public policy?
So I think in the beginning, in the outset only, I said that if you look at public policy as something which is going to give you a government job, in Jammu and Kashmir, it's going to take some more time because public policy as a stream is still not recognized separately. So I'm not sure will you be even equivalent to your competitors when it comes to. So very limited opportunities as a government job, public policy masters or public policy doctorate in the government services. Second is public policy professionals working in the NGO sector, in the social sector. I'm sure there are a lot of NGO voluntary organizations, and they would be preferring people because wherever there is government interface, they would be preferring people who have a background. Thirdly, I think outside the state, a lot of opportunities out there. Internships, to begin with, a lot of things happening there. Maybe in coming days, public policy professionals can also think about. I think somebody needs to be muted. There's a lot of sound in the background.
Sorry.
Koi calculations kar raha, he can do it later on, no problem.
No, I just muted him. I don't know who he's what.
Somebody is like revising his ledger, he can do that later. So we were saying that, okay, public policy, if you just limit yourself to Jammu and Kashmir, then, I mean, every small state has limited opportunities. Not everybody did all this. So what matters is that what is your circle and what kind of universe are you looking at? I'm sure if you want to move outside, definitely the number of opportunities will increase. This discipline in itself is kind of getting a lot of traction. Coming years are going to be very bright. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. We hope for more bright years to come. So Tushar sir, do you want to add some lines?
I mean, I would just like to add, it might sound a very visionary statement, but I think as we see the policy cycle, we've made an impact. Youth as a domain, a segment, we have made an impact in evaluation and implementation. How do we make an impact in agenda setting? We can make an impact in agenda setting by entering politics. I am a firm believer of that there's no dichotomy when it comes to politics and policy. So as the second step, youth would like to and would need to positively enter into politics. Why I say so? Recently, PRS data was conducted wherein more than 55% of our MPs are aged more than 55 years. So what happens when a youth enters politics? So parties apart, right, left, center apart, I would like to take the example of one of the youngest MPs in the parliament, Mr. Tejasvi Surya. He's quite vocal. And recently he has started his initiative called Youth Can Lead in Bangalore constituency, wherein youth are getting associated, they are being taught policy lessons, they are being consulted upon on what should be the next vision of Bangalore as a constituency. Then there is this youth parliamentarian and the youth activist in Bangalore who has started Youth Can Lead again in Bangalore constituency. So when youth enters the politics, the entire narrative of youth participation shifts. So this might be the next starting point wherein we start advocating for youth to participate in politics.
I think that's, Tushar, I would want to add there one thing that, when we talk about youngsters entering politics, we are not only talking about youngsters contesting elections. So the question has to be very clear that, public policy as a source of livelihood. If somebody is looking at public policy as something which he can be generating a livelihood, he wants a job, he wants public policy, that's a different world. Okay, there are certain limits on that at the moment. There are opportunities also, but there are, limits also because you need to see where you want to work. If you want to look at it from the perspective of making change or opportunity to participate in nation, then I think public policies are far wider, scope. As you rightly said about the parliamentarians, a lot of parliamentarians are now preferring public policy professionals and people to advise them on various governance issues.
Sure.
People are now actually participating, not themselves contesting elections, but looking after the entire election machinery of the contesting candidates, planning and strategizing for them, creating issues for them. Writing political manifestos and then guiding campaigns and reaching out to right kind of voters. And that entire cycle of elections is being kind of led by these youngsters who are not necessarily contesting themselves, but who are actually big, huge change at the grassroots level. I think we need to look at public policy participation from a wider perspective. Those people who want to just look at it from something which is going to give them a job or give them livelihood, I think at this moment, as Tushar said, maybe this may be a little bit, they may be a bit disappointed to think that, okay, there are not too many jobs available. It's not about jobs, finally, it's about the change. If you're somehow interested in bringing change at a very large level, I think this is definitely going to give you an opportunity to go anywhere, wherever you want to get it.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Point-
Talking of the young,
Just addition, point very well taken, sir. Yes, there are opportunities for youth when it comes to political consulting. We have like IPAC and Java is working out. Most of the people I've met from these political consulting organizations are less than 35. They are adding to the vision of the honorable parliamentarians and ministers as well. Most of the ministers sitting out of New Delhi or Haryana or J&K have their own teams which are helping them in driving the change. But what I wanted to convey, yes, source of livelihood is a point well taken. But what I wanted to convey is that the representation part, we also need to represent directly, and that can be a starting point. It has started, but people will start taking us more seriously. Youth as a segment. I would also offshoot youth as a segment in like 3 to 4 years, but giving 2 cents to my future generation would be to be more vocal, participate more at the college level. Start thinking about giving your voice a chance. That would be a great starting point, is what I wanted to convey through this honorable forum.
yeah, thank you so much.
That's very important. Yes, I think, yeah.
Thank you. So talking of the young
Go on.
leaders, young political leaders, we have even Aditya Thackeray from Mumbai, who is very active in taking the way forward of the India Climate Collaborative, which is working very actively on the India climate change. Thank you so much, sir. So over to you, Sukanya.
Yeah.
Yes, Sukanya, sorry. Our interns are here, so they want to they want to ask some questions. First, I would like Yashi to go first. She will be asking a question. Yashi, please go ahead.
Yes. Good evening to all the esteemed panelists who culminated together to have such an important discussion on the topic. So I would like to say, so since within the Indian context, youth are considered to be the future of nation. But personally, as an IR student who wants to pursue IR, after being from the law background, sir, I feel sometimes that the subject itself, whether it is public policy or international relation, is not being well articulated. It's not been widely articulated to the people, to the students in India, and thus less opportunities are available for students in India. Like we all are not that privileged to go there. So my question is, sir, so what insights you have on these subjects, and what do you prefer for those students who doesn't want to go abroad but wants to pursue career over here, but have lesser opportunities and lesser incentives related to it? Because at the end, we have to sort of maintain ourselves also, our families also in the future. Then everybody cannot be the part of the representation. So on that, if anyone could have their insight on the subject.
What's your name? I'm sorry, I couldn't get your name.
So this is Yashi.
Yashi, when you talk about youth being the future of the nations, I think, why we have been told this always, suppose the youngsters to be participating in the present moment, okay? So you are being told that, okay, the present moment doesn't belong to you. It's some other time which belongs to you. You should worry about the future. Today doesn't belong to you. But finally, there is no other way rather than looking at life as the moment that's right now, right here. So we bring change for this moment. And as you said about, as you talked about international relations and public policy, international relations, many professors told me, from my friends, they said that IR used to be one of the most ignored subjects maybe a decade ago. People used to, regret that why we took IR because there is absolutely nothing happening in this world. But nowadays, you see there is happening everything on the IR front only. And I think a lot of activity is there. And today, if you they are into security studies, they are into regional studies, there are wars. Can you imagine a war is happening right there, right now, today? I had never imagined that in 2022, at a time when there is mobile, there is internet, there is 4G, 5G, there'll be a war around us. There is a war happening. So IR is something I think which is as a subject getting very, very popular at the moment, honestly speaking. And public policy, likewise. I mean, people used to think that, oh, public policy is something which is not, professionals won't get jobs. But I think times are changing fast. It's a matter of time when public policy as a subject will be recognized by the universities and more people will be going there. You have limited opportunities at the moment, I understand, in India vis-a-vis study of public policy. There are very few schools which offer it. But there is an opportunity, I must tell you, which is in the new education policy. The new education policy tells one important key thing. It says that the professors who now want to start their courses, because these colleges will have to generate their own resources. So the professors will have to look at the demand from the students, and those courses will be more popular. Those courses will be started which have more student demand. If public policy somehow as a paradigm rises and emerges, professors will not need any permission from anybody to start public policy courses. You will see more professors coming into public policy, starting semester level courses for it, and then it will just go on. People will be paying new education policy, and I think that's a huge opportunity for these disciplines. Tushar, maybe he can add more on this.
Sir, you've rightly, covered all the points. But just on a personal note, I would like to, just convey that Yashi, start taking steps. Don't think of making a huge impact right away. Small steps will connect in this field. And once you start taking a small step, be it working with a small NGO who's working in women rights or menstrual health, you can start making connecting dots and moving ahead in your life. So public policy as a career, as Faisal sir rightly said, will take time to prosper. How do we ensure opportunities for a large number of people in the pyramid will take some amount of time, but you start taking baby steps in the field, and that livelihood part, I can say that once you are like 4 to 5 years of experience in the field, that livelihood part will be taken care of. And it's not like that in the field they're only asking for people with fancy degrees from abroad. You have like 6 to 7 good schools in the country, like Law School Bangalore, like Indian School of Democracy in Delhi, offering courses in public policy, and they're giving you decent placements also. So you don't think about livelihood and all right away. Just start taking baby steps in the career, and I'm sure they will, give returns in the future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, I hope, Yashi, you have found answer to your question.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. So we have one more intern with us, Akanksha. She also has a question for the speakers.
So, before Akanksha asks the question, can I add some points here?
Yes, please go ahead.
So like yesterday we had Afaq sir with us, and this is for you, Yashi. तो उन्होंने 2 important points बोले, जैसा कि अभी तुषार सर ने बोला, networking और patience. I think these are the 2 key points you need in public policy.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Akanksha?
Good evening to all the panelists. So my question to both panelists is that I'm currently in my
Akanksha, your voice is not clear. You are not audible.
If you are using a headphone or earphone, can you remove it, or you can? Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible now. Clear, very clear. Your voice is clear. Please go ahead.
To both the panelists. So my question is, I've been studying. I'm in my final year of public policy, and I'm studying in Mount Carmel College, Bangalore. So I have three questions. Number one, what I feel that we as students lack is we are given number of tools. There are plethora of things. I came with the set mind that I want to go into the welfare or public health or public understanding. But when I have been here for past 3 semesters, and I just find it really confusing. Should we stick to what we were came as a plan, and the amount of the plethora of things and tools that they have given us to understand and to make analysis, and like how Tushar said, sir said that we are involved largely in analysis part or implementing, and but not agenda setting. I and we as students work with an agenda. The teachers give us an agenda and we work towards this. So it has been really a roller coaster ride for myself. Any insight on how to use our skills and how to go about? Should we come with the set mind, or should we just keep exploring? That was my question, sir.
Akansha, I think when you talk about the skills, I don't know how many people know that when it comes to public policy masters, I'm not sure about the bachelor's level, but there's a lot of maths, economics, and data, data analysis, which is taught there. Youngsters, they feel that there is too much of maths in what does public policy got to do with data sciences? So people say, "Yaar, itna statistics kyun padha rahe hain? We are getting bored. We wanted to make policy. What am I doing with this data sciences, data analysis, and why is so much of Excel and so much of so many complex SPA and project management softwares being taught to us?" But basically the idea is that these tools are required for the public policy people, because the world is this time focusing on something called evidence-based public policy. Public policy is becoming a science. So people are saying that we are not going to do anything if the evidence does not suggest us or ask us to do it. These days when the government had to take a decision that, okay, we will be taking the subsidy out from the gas cylinders and we'll be transferring the subsidy directly into their cash accounts. Government doesn't take these decisions just because there is a vibe, some minister or some officer gets the vibe, okay, from tomorrow onwards, we should just directly pass the cash. There's a lot of analysis which happens, and that entire analysis is based on data collection and data analysis. I think the biggest contribution which the public policy professionals are making towards the public policy is that they are making it evidence-based. They are bringing in mathematical, scientific, and empirical tools to make the public policy a science. Otherwise, anybody will do anything. So I think you should appreciate what you're being taught, and actually it is going to take you far. Tushar, maybe you can
Yes,
start.
Yeah, rightly said by Faisal sir. So Akansha, what happens is when we are taught like 10, 12 or 15 different tools, immediately we don't see a application, right? But what happens when you move ahead in your career, you may come across an opportunity where your mind in the back end would tell you that, oh, you had used this tool or you had learned this tool, and you can make paper or your insightful this tool. So just to give you an example, I was taught impact assessment way back in college, right? But I didn't find avenue to use impact assessment 4 years in my life, in my professional life. But suddenly an opportunity popped up when I had to, meet a client, and the client told me that an impact assessment needs to be studied, right? Now, if I go to client at that particular point of time, I can't learn the techniques of analysis again and again, and the technique of data collection again, and they need to use any other tool which was taught to me back in policy school at that particular time. So that skill which was taught to me back in policy school kind of popped up in my head, and I could give an insightful way ahead, and I could complete the study. So yeah, that way, just keep learning. You never know what and how the tool will be used in future.
Akansha, do you want to add anything else? Do you want to ask any more questions? Or
I add one more point, which is, we also come from our past experiences that in our class 10, class 11, 12, We used to study preparation of aldehydes and preparation of ketones and all those organic chemistry formulas, which were never used in our lives. So in future also, when we take courses, we feel at times, what the hell are we studying? Why are we studying this? So we get demotivated. But one has to understand that these curricula, the syllabus for these courses, it's made because you will be using them in future. It's not that it's useless.
Does anyone have any question? Because like I just want to frame one question.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah. So it is pretty evident that.
Give me one more opportunity.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go. Please go ahead. Please go. Sorry to interrupt.
Just finish the question. I can ask later if that works. Yeah.
No. Yeah, because you know, Aksa, my colleague is here. She wanted to ask a question. So I thought let's get these questions first, so that we can ask more questions later. Yes. Aksa.
Hi, very welcome to the esteemed panelists. So मेरा क्वेश्चन दोनों से ही है. So मैं ये पूछना चाहती हूँ कि अभी तक हमारा सारा डिस्कशन चल रहा था, मैं सुन रही थी कि we were talking about कि यूथ को इंक्लूड नहीं किया जा रहा है पब्लिक पॉलिसी में. So मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कहीं पे I think the youth is also digressed from the issues of public policy. So I think कुछ कोर्सेज की भी कमी है और आई थिंक उनका जो इंटरेस्ट है वो भी पब्लिक पॉलिसी में इट्स वेरी लेस. सो उसका क्या रीजंस हो सकते हैं. और मुझे एक चीज़ ये भी लगती है कि I don't know if the making that similarity is right or wrong. It's same like army or the defense forces. जैसे कि आजकल के youth है वो नहीं उतना ज़्यादा पसंद करते that they don't want to join armed forces or something. Same goes for public policy as well. So I think वो जो एक digression है, maybe क्योंकि youth का जो role है, as we have been discussing, that it's so important to include the voice or the skills of youth in public policy. So how do we make sure that we include the youth in it and like they are digressed from it? So how do we ensure that to bring them on board and bring that awareness into the youth that they should be more and more in public policy?
I think that's a very key question. That's a very important question because it connects to the larger value. Work is an extremely hard, extremely challenging, at times very unrewarding work. You will need to be in the field, in the rural areas, in areas where there is nothing, no road, no electricity, opportunities, at times no internet also. Public policy means bringing change into the lives of the people, and not everybody will be interested in it. In a value system or in a society where we put a lot of premium on making money, on living an easy life in the metros, on getting everything on maybe Uber or getting everything on Food Panda or maybe Zomato, it's very tough for a lot of people to even think about getting into this discipline. So I think finally what matters is that is finally a question of maybe education, question of upbringing, question of value system, that do we feel motivated to bring in change? I mean, I don't know if anybody can inject some sort of motivation into people to make them feel that, okay, you should feel for others. I think that's all about motivation. People who are working for the government, they are not very well paid. My batchmates who are doctors, they are earning 10 times than me. I mean, they are living in much more luxurious life. People in cities, amazing life. People who are living in faraway areas of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand and Himachal Pradesh, they are doing public policy. It looks like very challenging, interesting work. Not much money, not much comfort. About life choices, what you make. If you want to make a choice, want to contribute, your value system guides you to do that, you will do this. If you don't want to do that, I don't think anything is going to motivate. Tusharji.
Yeah, so just to add on to that, Aksa, yes, rightly said that, I mean, they're not, the information is not there. Just to build upon what Faisal sir said about aldehydes and ketones, we still remember about aldehydes and ketones, we were given that opportunity to learn about them. So yeah, I mean, taking that particular choice of whether to be associated with public policy and impart change and add to change is one step ahead. I mean, the students should be given an opportunity to decide whether they want to add to this particular profession or not, whether they want to take this profession future or not. So that I think will be introduced with time. So day before yesterday, I was seeing the curriculum of government schools, right? So class 8th and class 9th students are being given these co-curricular activities, and I'm talking about the state of Jammu and Kashmir, to participate in this youth parliament. And the youth parliament topic was on women reservation, right? So steps like these are being taken by the government to give the children of today the opportunity and the choice whether they want to take public policy as a profession in future, right? But it's meager, it's small, but going forward, it would expand, and hopefully going forward, the children would have this choice whether they want to take the profession in future or not. But at the end of the day, it again boils down to individual's choice, whether he wants to be a chemist or a public policy professional.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Okay, Sukanya. Yeah.
Yeah, so the question that I wanted to frame was that, I mean, although Aksa said that, youth is not very much inclined towards your youth policy and governance, but I see a lot of people that they have a inclination towards the same subject and same field. So the question is that, do we have the required platforms? Do we have the required avenues? Whether, if a youth does want to get into this, do we have the proper institutions here, or does it need much more advancement? If you could answer these questions.
I think if you talk about who are the people who want to get into public policy, I think it is also to do with what kind of struggles you have yourself seen in your personal life. Have you gone through that suffering, or do you relate to that suffering which is there in the ground? When you see a poor person, when you see dilapidated roads, when you see unelectrified villages, does it do something to you? Or have you even been there? I think the first step which we can do is that, there are youngsters, there are students who need to go to the villages. There are students in Srinagar city, for example, they have never been to the villages, never seen the life out there. Maybe the school exchange programs very early in their life can actually develop some sort of an exposure to them that, okay, this is something which needs to be done. There is a lot of premium on community service in the West. Students have to do community service as part of their assessment. Unke marks card mein likha hai ji kitna community service kiya hai. Community service brings that kind of aptitude in your head to understand these problems in the field. वो बड़ा जरूरी है. इसी तरह से आपने कहा platforms हमारे पास हैं कि नहीं है. I think again I come back to that mindset that there's a lot of block. मैंने देखा है that into the free. I have seen headmasters not allowing them into the school. They are saying no, we cannot allow you. I have seen volunteers with the government. They are saying no, we don't know. There's no express guidelines for officers and work and volunteer and assist us. So there's a lot of suspicion against voluntary action or against people who want to work without getting any. अगर कोई हमारे घर पे काम करने आएगा, हमें लगता है यार क्यों आएगा? कश्मीर के बारे में तो एक फेमस आई थिंक एरिक बिस्को ने कहा है, उसने कहा कि अगर किसी को बोलोगे आप धूप में से थोड़ा साये में क्यों नहीं बैठते, he will tell you why don't you pay me something for it. हमें अंडरस्टैंड आपको एडवाइस राइटली कर सकता है और कोई फ्री का काम आपके लिए कर सकता है. somebody can help you. That has something to do with it. And I think उस चीज में चेंज आने में थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा, but I'm sure one day we'll conquer that much as well.
So Kanya, just to add on to what Faisal has said and to directly, try to answer your question, are there enough institutions in place for this particular profession? My answer to that would be right now, there aren't, right? So if I have to summarize the entire discussion we've had today, I would try to cut it into pieces. So from a child who's like from inception of his studies to class 12, we would need to create certain avenues to impart him the value education, make him understand the values of empathy, compassion, right, tolerance going forward. Once the child reaches a class 11th or class 12th, we give him the opportunity to pursue medical sciences or engineering or social sciences or commerce. So policy sciences can be a step Once the child goes to the college, participating in youth workshops, youth-led development growth, participating in voluntary organization, even if he's going to the engineering or medical sciences, giving him that opportunity to work with the NGOs. So, I mean, my personal shift from going from engineering sciences into policy sciences or working with this organization called Child Rights and Youth. So that change can anytime come with you. It's just that that opportunity should be provided to that child. Then once the person enters the policy schools, I think there's an issue of industry academia linkage. There's no industry academia linkage prevailing in the current policy schools. Then once the person is going into a policy job, there's an issue of a networking kind of a thing, like you have Naukri portal for job, that there's no specialized job. You have development sector jobs, but there are no specialized jobs for policy sciences. So yeah, the institutional setup kind of evolves once the stream has evolved. And the entire gist of today's discussion was that the stream itself is evolutionary, and with time only the avenues will be created. So for the institutions to develop, it has to be taken into consideration from step 0 to step 12, right? So that's the answer to your question.
Do you have any question, Tanvir?
Yes, I have one important question, and I want Faisal Saab and Tushar sir both to answer this question. So we have seen many startups like public policy institutes emerging during the pandemic. Jkpi is also one of them. Since you have worked with the government, could you share some internal insights about the response of state actors to these emerging youth-led platforms?
I think it will all depend on what kind of content you are creating, what kind of people you are inviting, what kind of discussion is happening. If you are actually developing serious content, you are doing serious critique policies which are in operation at the moment, and you are giving some, you are also able to then, key insights the government. I think it's not that there is an inherent bias against anybody who wants to reform or improve or contribute. I think it's all about, are you providing that information? Is that information reaching out to the right people? And is that information critical or credible? And what kind of quality of work you are doing? I think it takes time for policy institutes to mature. Everything starts, everybody makes a small beginning. And then as you start taking initiatives, as you start creating serious content, you will be taken seriously. I think you should absolutely work that you're doing time, and with time you will become a credible partner in the government.
Sir, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. So to answer your question, I think technology and the use of platforms like Zoom, Google Meets, etc. has played an important role for policy institutes like ours, Jkpi, to evolve, because distance as a barrier has been eliminated. And with a lot of time in place and the convenience of all the people coming together on a single platform has definitely acted as catalyst to, give us this opportunity to engage in a constructive discussion, right, and come up with modern solutions. To answer the second part of your question, that what should we do so that we are taken seriously? We would be taken seriously, as Faisal sir rightly said, vis-a-vis the quality of content. But one thing which needs to be appreciated in this modern governance era, as in we call it as M-governance or E-governance, is that the governance and the government is getting very participatory. It wants views from the civil society, and it wants views from youth like us. So the onus right now is on us to, give a suggestion which is impactful and evidence driven. So that would be my answer to your question.
Thank you so much, sir. So basically, it's mostly dependent on the quality of the content you provide to the government. So before we move ahead, basically we have only a 1 hour conversation and we have a lot of questions pending, but our colleague Anna Mitra wants to ask a question.
Good evening to esteemed panelists and everyone. My name is Anna Mitra, and I just have a small little question to ask, since a lot of us actually hail from different parts of the country, and a lot of times we fail to understand what is the ground reality in Kashmir. So I just wanted to ask, like, given that, you have ASPA in action, and also at the same time, there might be always a tension which is brewing. And I myself, I come from the defense background, as well as I'm a student from defense and military strategic studies. So as a policymaker, how do you think which factions of the policy making, public policy making and defense can act together and provide a much more holistic environment for people, particularly the children, because they are the future youth of this country? Thank you.
You have to understand you're operating in a space which has experienced terrorism for the last 30 years. It's not a very easy place to work in. Actually, when volunteers from across the country would come to our districts and work in education, work in health in the remote corners of the Jammu and Kashmir, how difficult it is. You have CI operations happening. There used to be a very difficult situation in the focus on during those days. So the role of defense forces, the role of administration, obviously it has always been there that everybody has to work together to first provide a peaceful environment or an ecosystem in which the good governance can take place. Unless you have a sense of security, no good governance activities, people will not even move out. We are so difficult that the public functionary, the patwari, the teacher, the hospital person, the doctor, anybody, they would not. That's where stability part comes. So stability is very important, and the work which defense forces and the administration has been doing, that's key part of it. Sure, what else? Really, when you talk about other realities, obviously, it's a very complex place. But you have to understand that it's a very difficult situation which the government has been dealing with. You have to understand institutions, you have to believe and be on the side of the peace and be on the side of the people who are actually fighting and contributing and sacrificing their lives for bringing some of normalcy to the place so that good governance and lives of people can finally change.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So, Kanya, do we have any more questions? Okay, thank you. So basically, we have a lot of questions unanswered. We'll try to connect with both of the speakers, both of the esteemed speakers for next session in the coming months. Akhil, over to you, please.
Thank you, Tanvi. Thank you, Sukanya. Before I present the vote of thanks, this whole conversation, it has been about more than 1 hour. So it made me go back to my college and university days. So I would like to share my own experience. Like we talked about involving youth into policy making and governance decisions pertaining to governance. But it's not a question, but it's a takeaway that my takeaway from the whole conversation, that when I have written about this thing, I got an opportunity to write about this issue, that when these date sheets are prepared, whether it is whether at the college levels or the university levels, so the students are never consulted. Such complaints may seem very trivial, but they are very these students are taking them very seriously, that the consultation is very bad when it comes to consulting the students for when different decisions are taking at the college level or the university level. So it's very for personally, I would say it's very difficult for a student like me to find a role for myself in governance or in the policy making. So with this, I would like to present my vote of thanks on the behalf of the Jkpi and on my own behalf. Thank you so much, Mr. Shah Faisal and Mr. Tushar Gupta, for answering the important questions on youth in policy making and governance. And I believe that more discussions are required to bring more awareness to this important topic. And we are looking forward to seeing you very soon with more sessions on policy making and governance. And that's all for now in the Youth Forum. Thank you and good night.
Good night. Thank you.